Hi, everyone, and welcome to our day 6 of our Advent Foretold. This one is the line of Messiah through Judah. Before we get into it, I wanted to say a couple of things that actually, throughout the course of Advent, there may be a few times where I will give this kind of heads up or this warning that today's content, there are some things we're talking about Judah and Tamar from the book of Genesis. It's Genesis 38. And so if you want to take a peek, if you're not as familiar, you don't remember what that's about, just the Judah and Tamar part of the story of that leading into Jesus, the genealogy of Jesus and everything. I would just recommend that you take a minute and just see if you are listening with youngers, to what level, and you know your own kids. So I'm not going to speak into that, but I just wanted to give you that heads up, and I'll do that as we go through. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about before we get into it, and at this point, if you want to just click past to get into the Advent where I read it, that's totally understandable. But I like to talk. I like to talk about Jesus. And so just reading it, it's like, I love that. But it's like there's so much, right? So I just wanted to touch on just a couple of things. And one of those being the whole the telling of the events that took place regarding Judah and Tamar, a lot of times, just like with Abraham and Isaac on the mount, and when God tells Abraham or asks Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, we read things and we can kind of uh, judge them like it kind of takes us aback, or we're like, the Old Testament is just so full of violence, and it's so full of this and that. And it's like we touched on the other day. First of all, it is a telling. This is the following that scarlet thread through history, through his story, like literally from the creation of the world through. But the other piece is to always remember when we're reading scripture is is it is it being descriptive or is it being prescriptive? So, like, as we read, is it describing something that took place, or is it prescribing something that should be, like, that it's prescribing to do something a certain way, or to follow a certain way, or to proceed a certain way? And that's a really important thing to take note of when we're reading scripture all the time, because there are so many times where people try to make excuses for acts or actions, or they try to use it to kind of as a hammer to say, look how look how Judaism and Christianity are so violent, or they're so like against women or whatever. And it's important to stop and take a look at what you're reading and examine it against what God has said. And that's the other thing, is like, in scripture, every time something wrong happens, God doesn't say, and that was wrong, and that was wrong, and that was wrong. It's, I told you here that this is how I expected you to move forward. I told you here what I did not allow and what I did allow. Now, it's describing, like, they're doing these things, right? And so I just wanted to kind of mention that. So as we get into the Judah and Tamar piece of things, I mean, they just think about it. Like, we're getting into Judah and Tamar, and Judah and his brothers have just sold Joseph into slavery. I can guarantee you that even though God allowed it and used it for his purpose, that's not how you don't steal someone and sell them into slavery, and as scripture says. And so, anyways, I just wanted to kind of give that little bit of a just a kind of a reminder as we're going through this, because as we're going through Advent, there are going to be those times that we're coming up to these events that take place that to our Western ears can be a bit disconcerting, and should make us go like, what was that about? And then to go, but whose motive or whose heart was behind that? But also, the other thing I want to remind you guys is that to look at how flawed and how messed up the genealogy of Jesus, like right from the garden. I mean, you've got the first parents are like messing it up, and then you've got Abraham, like, which we didn't touch on that piece, but some pieces with Abraham where he doesn't quite obey the way he should as quickly as he should, right? And you've got Jacob, which we talked about yesterday, where it's like, dude, you've got some problems here. But it's like that's the beauty of Jesus is like he comes through this line of all these different people who we're going to examine a few of those, but God does not use perfect people because there aren't any except for his son. And it's like it's his glory, it's his power, it's by and through him that things take place. It's our willingness to be a part of that. It's our willingness to and desire to serve him where we get to be a part of things. But at the end of the day, he loves to use broken people. And so if you ever think that you can't be used because of things that have happened in your life or things that you've done or whatever, it's like, trust me when I say lay it at the cross. And like, you are redeemed. Like, if you are a follower of Jesus, you are redeemed. Like that, he can use, those are the things he can use. Like the very things that cause our brokenness, the very things that have been the hardest, the most difficult things are the very things that he will completely use to be able to speak into the lives of others, to be able to encourage others who feel like they're all alone in whatever they're walking through. They feel like they're the only ones who've ever experienced or done or whatever it is. And they hold it in. And if nobody talks about things and no one is willing to share their struggles or share what they've been through or what they've done or what have you, we lose out. We lose out on such an incredible opportunity to serve him and to be used by him in such beautiful broken ways that make beautiful mosaics, beautiful art in him. And I just want to encourage you guys in that. And I've done it again. I've gone very long. Anyways, what I'll do is I'll do the same thing I did the other day, where I will pause this here and we'll do a second intro one like we did a couple of days ago, and I will jump into the reading in the second video that'll be attached to this. So God bless you guys, and I will see you in just a minute.